Hey, everybody. We good, Mike? Yeah, we're good. Hey, everybody. I'm Uncle Rocky. How you doing tonight? You know, I'm the tallest and fastest guy on the team that plays against Nick's team in Naples. I only use a cane. I've been trying various tools to get some more traction in this comedy thing. You know, try to get more gigs and stuff. But now I've got legal problems with HBO. They claim that I'm using the name of one of their famous shows on my OnlyFans account. Have you ever heard of the show Deadwood? So Pixie and I, we've been married for 40 years. She'll have 50% of a conversation in her head before bringing me into it. I'm accused at that point of never paying attention. You know, maturing in marriage is accepting the fact that your wife can't remember where she's left her glasses, typically on top of her head, but she can remember something I said 39 years ago on a Tuesday night at 8:56 p.m. One of the most frightening phrases I've ever heard my wife say is, "I was thinking." The last time she was thinking, it cost me 50 grand to put an addition onto the house. I do forget a lot of things. She accuses me all the time of being very forgetful. And I do forget things that just aren't important to me. I think I have what I like to call Italian Alzheimer's. I forget everything but the grudges. Yeah. Nick mentioned Nick mentioned about a Sicilian with no arms being a mute. I can tell you, Pixie broke her wrist a couple of years ago, and she developed a speech impediment. She just stood there, complete silence. After 40 years, we finish each other's sentence. Typically, I start, and she'll finish by saying, "You big dumbass." When I was a kid, growing up in Brooklyn, a little Italian kid, I would go to school with my lunchbox, and I had things in there that the other kids just didn't have. I had linen napkins, I had real silverware, I had a little wine glass that my nonna gave me, and I had 6 meatball Parmesan sandwiches that I used to sell to the Jewish kids. You know you're Italian when you use the rubber band from the broccoli rabe as your wallet? I went to my nonna and I said to him, "Hey, Pop, I need a new wallet." He reached in the drawer, grabbed 20 rubber bands, threw them on the table, and said to me, "Pick the color you like." You know, I've been around Italian women now for 6 generations, and I can tell you they talk incessantly. They go a mile a minute. Seemingly, they never breathe. I come to the conclusion that they breathe through their ears, which now blows out that whole reason of, "I'm not sucking that because I can't breathe," right out of the water. You know, we just had the holidays. Pixie and I cooked for 3-4 days. People came to the house, and they were blown away by the amount of food that we have. They can't figure out what we're going to do with the leftovers. Well, at the end of the night, there's Pixie at the front door with a stack of Tupperwares, and she's like the Oprah Winfrey of leftovers. "You get a Tupperware, you get a Tupperware, and you get a Tupperware." You know, she did Marla, you know. Marla walked away with most of those Tupperware. So Pixie did a 5K elf run. They don't run, they barely walk. For her and her friends, it's basically a 5K talk. My New Year's resolution, it's that time of year, right? Everybody's got a New Year's resolution. Mine is to be able to stand up without groaning. I thought this whole aging thing was going to take a lot longer. I'd much rather deal with acne than arthritis. When I went to the doctor, complaining about stiffness in my hands, my knees, my joints, he examined me and he says, "You got arthritis from head to toe." He says, "You're going to have to get used to it because arthritis makes everything stiff." Not everything. I tried something called Force Factor Hair Growth Accelerator. I don't have any new hair on my head, but my back looks like a Brazilian rainforest. You know, I used to drink a fair bit to get buzzed. Now at this point in my life, if I want to get buzzed, all I do is stand up too quickly. Drinking hits a lot differently when you're older. You know, now I can get a 3-day hangover from a blueberry smoothie. But the nice thing about being this age, you never have to get drunk to fall into the bushes. Just walk and stumble and bang, down you go. You know, now it takes me longer to actually start peeing than it does to actually go. And when I do, it's this set of urinary dots and dashes. It's like Morse code. I'm starting to get responses from ships at sea. You know you're old when your balls are longer than the CVS receipt. The first time I sat on the toilet and I experienced splashdown, I said, this isn't going to work. I needed something that was going to prevent that from happening. So I go to the workshop and I developed the TFD, the testicular flotation device. Basically, it's 2 mini bagels with a smear of cream cheese, stick them right on, and the boys just float along. You know, you can see I got a few tattoos, and Pixie dropped me off at the place, and I got a new tattoo. And so I come home, sit in the backyard. She looks down and she goes, "Why did you get 3 lines tattooed above your knee?" I said, "Well, you remember when the kids were little, we would chart their growth by drawing lines on the door jamb." She says, "I get that, but I don't get these 3 lines." I said, "Well, frankly, I'm trying to measure the impact of gravity on my balls." She says, "Why the dotted line?" I said, "Because at that point, I have to stop wearing shorts." You know, menopause was also an interesting time for us. I like to call it the thermostat wars. She would set the thermostat so low in the house, we literally had intermittent flurries in the bedroom. I asked her about hot flashes and what those were like. She says, "Well, it's like this flame burning me up from the inside out." I said to her, "Oh, I get it. It's like when you eat a very spicy Italian meal." I woke up a half hour later, and she was standing over me with a frying pan. We're in bed one night, and I hear bzzz, a little faster, a little louder, bzzz. I roll over all excited. All she had was the little fan from her nightstand trying to cool off. I had a complete different buzzing in mind. Menopause is basically Mother Nature's way of telling an Italian woman she's going to be dealing with facial hair for the remainder of her life. My Nona, at age 90, had such a luxurious beard that she was able to front for ZZ Top. All right, I got one joke for you, jokey joke. I'm up in New York with my nephew, and the kid wants to go for ice cream. So we jump in the car, we're driving to go get ice cream. If you know anything about New York, inevitably you wind up behind a garbage truck. So we're driving down the road, the garbage truck hits a New York-sized pothole. Garbage comes flying out of the back of the truck, and this giant dildo smashes into the windshield. I see my nephew, he's like bug-eyed, and I don't want to have an embarrassing conversation with the kid, so I say, "Matt, don't worry about it, it was just a bug." He looks me dead in the eye and he goes, "Uncle Rocky, how does a bug fly with a dick that big?" All right, that's my time, everyone. Thanks a lot. Back to your host, Mike.